Alright, so you guys know what time it is. Supercut of the entire Wukong versus Prometheus fight. As always, this is the new tradition. We do this for the end and conclusion of all the fights within the Record of Ragnarok series. I want to make mention of the fact that I do leave in a little bit in the beginning that lays some context for Hercules and Prometheus relationship. So we'll start there and it won't kick right into the fight. If you want to skip ahead, you can, but I think that it adds needed context to what's going to transpire throughout the video. With that said, I hope you guys enjoy this. If you do and want to see more of my content in the coverage every single month as they drop in real time, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Also drop a like on this video so it gets pushed out to even more people and we can build the community even stronger. I thank you guys for all the support as always, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.
It's been a while, my friend, and they do like the warrior's greeting. They move over to this sightseeing spot where we shift to mid-conversation as Prometheus is saying, but we're both in quite the difficult situation. Hercules says, yeah, the 13 representatives for the gods. I always believed you'd be one of the chosen, Hercules. But Hercules, for you, this battle will be, and he's getting to the point of saying it's going to be difficult, challenging. But Hercules cuts him off and says, I have no doubts in an awesome panel. Even if humanity is the opponent, I will not let my guard down and I will not hold back. I will give it my all. As the representative for the gods, I shall fight with honor and pride. And the one who will fight me is one of humanity's greatest warriors. A representative of humanity that will fight fairly with all his body, spirit, everything he has. If you'll stand up to me with all that, humanity's strength and splendor will definitely be conveyed to the gods. I'll win them over. Prometheus says, you don't change, Hercules. And even in such a situation, you don't waver. You believe in the path that you think is right and move forward without hesitation. Every time I try to save humanity, I mess up my approach. Compared to me, who doesn't even know what I should do, it's a big difference. Hercules looks down at him, smiles, and says, don't falter, Prometheus. Even in the midst of your confusion and anguish, you always end up doing the right thing. That's the kind of man you are. Even if we walk different paths, in the end, we're still moving in the same direction. And this is a really cool panel because it shows Hercules walking in a straight line and it shows Prometheus walking in a zigzag loopy line, but it ends up at the same destination. These two are kind of parallels, which is really cool. Hercules says, therefore, we are friends. We get a montage of them fighting back to back in some of their previous exploits. And when Prometheus says, anytime I try to help humanity, he's referencing at least when he stole fire for humanity. Hercules says, hasn't it always been that way, Prometheus? And both say, that's right. We now cut to the arena with Yara, the ring announcer, saying, everyone, we've kept you waiting for too long. The second match of the first round is here. The warriors enter now. As we see this awesome shot of Prometheus' back, he's in his full fighting outfit. He's got this black battle shirt on and he has these chains around his wrists, and this is going to be his weapon. He's locked in, fully resolved in the fight as he thinks to himself, thank you, my friend, thank you, Hercules. Yara says it's no exaggeration to say that this big feast, Apocalypse, was created just for you, referencing Prometheus. Indeed, he is, in the long history of the heavenly realm, the most sinful, the most defiant, the very first outer god. While this is happening, we actually do get a tease to Prometheus being tortured when he was chained up. As she's announcing this, Prometheus continues to have internal monologue where he thinks, I will no longer hesitate. We see some of the gods in the crowd watching on as Prometheus, and they're like, Prometheus, it's that foolish titan. What is he gonna do? Yara says, from heaven, he stole fire and gave it to humanity. What was the result? Developing technology beyond what they can handle, destroying nature, repeatedly engaging in feudal wars, creating a foolish and arrogant humanity. Indeed, the root cause of all that was Prometheus. Now, will this man once again make the same mistake? Or as a god, will he bring down the hammer of judgment on humanity? The very first outer god, Prometheus. So they blame him for all the tragedies in humanity. They blame him for constant wars, and that's why he thinks that he has made a mistake when he speaks with Hercules. He's got some cool paneling, but we cut to Ares, Hermes, and Zeus. Ares says, Prometheus, huh? I hate that guy. Hermes says, snidely, because he's close with Hercules, huh? And Ares is like, no. It's not for such a petty reason. Even though he's a god, he worries too much about what he has done. He hesitates. With Heracles, it's the polar opposite. Hermes again says, yet you're annoyed that he's close with Hercules though. And Ares is like, shut up already. Obviously, Ares and Hercules are also really close. Ares was in extreme anguish when Hercules died. They're really good friends and they had that fight before Hercules became a god. Prometheus then says, as a proclamation to all the gods watching, let me say this first. O gods and Zeus, indeed I was the one that bestowed the gift of fire. As a result, humanity has made many mistakes. Perhaps they achieved misguided progress, but what about it? Humanity, make all the mistakes you need. He extends his arms to the side, screams this out, and says, make mistakes and progress. I'll take any punishment thrown at me. I'll find a way to save you. So this reminds me of Tesla a lot, like Tesla saying advance at any cost, pretty much like progress. And it pretty much mirrors the scene because Tesla also threw his arms out to the side. But I like this a lot because Prometheus is fully resolved. He's not hesitating anymore. He's not second guessing his decision. He's like, fuck it. I did what I thought was right. We're going to deal with the consequences and they're going to progress. When he says this, we see Hercules smiling. No matter how many times, I will save you, as his final proclamation, as we see the chains around his wrists. Ares looks worried and Hercules says, ha, that's right. Go get him. That's who you are, Prometheus. Heracles, Ragnarok, and the Apocalypse. Though our battlefields may differ, let us fight together with our hands. Let's save humanity, is what Prometheus thinks in his mind as he looks up at his friend. We finally get a reaction from Zeus as he says, I thought lately he was being a bit docile, but it seems there's still a hint of danger lurking in that fellow Prometheus. Hermes says yes. If he resolves his doubts like that and were to win the additional prize, I have no idea what he might say or do. Because don't forget, obviously a big reason these people want to be part of this tournament is that provision uncontested in the Constitution of Valhalla. Hermes continues, Ragnarok could be canceled. No, not just that. The Humanity Survival Conference itself could be erased. Ares says, what? So that means us gods would be stripped of the right to decide humanity's fate? Is that something you'd actually accept, Father? As he yells at Zeus. And Zeus looks at him with a sinister ass face and says, of course. If there isn't at least that much danger, it won't be exciting at all. However, it won't be so easy, and he smirks. Now this makes me think that it could be in reference to Wukong, because obviously there's going to be a lot of hype for Wukong right after this, but it could be in reference to, obviously we know Zeus ends up in the tournament of Ragnarok. He wasn't on the initial roster here that he portrayed to all the gods, and that weird spot for Hydra is there. So some people think that Zeus is going to step in for the Hydra position because in this verse, Hydra should theoretically already be defeated and dead by Hercules, given that he completed his labors. He already lost to Hercules. It's kind of stupid. So maybe Zeus fills in that slot. But anyway, Zeus will probably fight the winner and take the spot anyway. But it might be in reference to Wukong, as we see here. Yara then is preparing to announce him, says, well then, the current top contender for the championship is already stepping to the ring. Super interesting. Wukong is the favorite in the tournament, just as we all thought. I like that the author is recognizing this, and he in verse is saying that Wukong is the favorite. After this, Zeus says, after all, his opponent is that man. So Wukong already has immense respect from Zeus. And with the way this is framed, you gotta believe that Zeus had a hand, if not absolute authority, in putting together the tournament matchups. So him having this evil grin on his face as he says his opponent is that man and he's the favorite for the tournament makes you think, did he send Prometheus out there to get his ass whooped by the strongest person in the tournament in his eyes? Yara continues and says, the god who rebelled against the gods, when you mention the outer gods, this guy's existence is paramount. We see Wukong's subordinates say, this is bad, they're already calling you, big bro, please hurry. Because Wukong's late, he's supposed to be walking out at this point. Yara's like, oh dear. She's getting nervous now. It's like, he not gonna come out. Like, they don't know what the fuck's going on. Wukong's little bro's like, come on, hurry up. Wukong finally emerges. He's like scratching his head. He's like, you're loud. We can keep those guys waiting. Who cares? Honestly, this is just a way to pass time. I have no obligation to play along with their vibe. So Buddha vibes from him, completely mirroring his ideology. Yara says he finally appears. As expected, this man is free-spirited. In the past, even with 100,000 soldiers from heaven to take away his freedom, was impossible. Awesome shot of Wukong sitting on a mound of bodies. Numerous gods, a great yokai, and even a great demon king. All lost to Wukong, and even his own destiny wasn't enough to stop him. Now, as this is stated, we get a shot of Neza, confirmed that the Seto Kaiba looking dude is Neza. We also get Taisheng, Laojin, Jin Zhao, and Yin Zhao, and Nue Mo Wang, the bull demon king. So it seems that he defeated all these people along his journey, so that's going to be interesting in the tournament. And then when they say even his own destiny, we see Enma, who looks just like fucking Blade, and it could be even implied that he beat Enma as well. So if he beat all these guys, he's beaten 2 of the combatants in the tournament already, so they're going to want revenge. But that's already great scaling for Wukong, depending on what they show later. Neza says, well, if it isn't Sun Wukong. Laojin says, geez, that's just like him. Jin Zhao says, that damn monkey. And the Bull Demon King is simply laughing aloud. And Medaio says, that brat hasn't changed one bit. So I think that all their dialogue implies that they did lose at the feet of Wukong as well. Despite all these people and all these calamities, stopping his wild rampage was impossible. He doesn't have a goal. He joins out of boredom. The free-spirited monkey of the heavens charges into the apocalypse. The great sage, heaven's equal, Sun Wukong. So he enters the arena. He's not even acknowledging Prometheus, really. He's just like touching his glasses. He's looking off to the side. And in that moment, the narrator says, was it carelessness or leisure? As Prometheus just like doesn't hesitate at all, just immediately throws one of his chains at Wukong and it lands around his ankle. It latches onto him. Prometheus says, forgive me, great sage, heaven's equal, but this battle, I simply cannot lose. Yara says, hey, the starting signal hasn't gone off yet. And Zeus starts laughing and says, don't be so stiff. It's okay. Let some things slide. The one to take the initiative is Prometheus. And that is the cliffhanger to end the chapter, with Wukong looking at him finally, and aura emanating around him.
So we're picking up right where we left off, with Prometheus grabbing Wukong by the leg with one of his chains. Yaru says it's a bit of a no, definitely it's a sneak attack, but the one that makes the first move is Prometheus. Don't forget, he made this move before Yara even announced the start of the match. The gods in the crowd are saying what cowards these outer gods are, but others are saying, attaboy Prometheus, lay it on him. Serves you right, you damn monkey. So the crowd is split. We then see Prometheus with a smirk on his face say, forgive me, Wukong. To which Wukong replies, ain't no need for you to apologize. Either way, I was planning on letting you have the first move. Just like a bit of a handicap, you know? So this man is unfazed and he's talking all this shit. He's very arrogant. He believes in his strength to the absolute highest levels. As he says this, Prometheus's face darkens. He says, I wasn't apologizing for the sneak attack, and his back muscles start pulsating like crazy. They're popping out of his shirt, bro. Wukong's now noticing this isn't no average god. Prometheus whips Wukong into the air by his leg that's got the chain attached to it. Wukong is surprised. Yara screams out and says, what terrifying strength, that's a titan for you. As Prometheus looks absolutely insane right now. Prometheus' elder brother, the great titan Atlas, our first ever look at Atlas, is even said to have held up the sky with his massive frame and outlandish strength. I would love to see Atlas fight somebody at some point. He's one of my favorite mythological figures. If he shows up in the crowd, I'd be hyped. But this is our first look at him. He looks awesome. That outlandish strength is the standard divine power of all the titans. That's an insane statement in and of itself. As Wukong is free falling down towards Prometheus, Prometheus says, forgive me, Wukong. No god has ever been able to withstand my attacks. None except for me, dude. This guy is awesome, actually. He grits his teeth, jumps up into the air, launches head first into Wukong's head, and slams him with a headbutt in this funny ass looking panel. But then this next one looks awesome with all this lightning surrounding them as their heads collide. This attack is called Divine Punishment in Chains, Gremos Arkan. It was a pain that Wukong had never felt before, unpredicted and unbearable. Hermes looks shook and he says, Lord Zeus, that there must be. And Zeus says, yes. It would seem there's no mistaking it. Hermes continues, says that there was originally crafted specifically for Lord Prometheus' punishment, a most fearsome divine weapon that inflicts pain even the gods can hardly bear. As Wukong is wrapped fully in these chains at this point, Prometheus lifts him up above his head, launches himself up into the air, as Zeus says, in which case even a man like Wukong might be in some trouble. As Prometheus' face is determined as hell, he slams the shit out of Wukong with a brainbuster. Dino Altair, Eagle's Beak is the name of the attack. He slams him on his head into the ground. Wukong is wide-eyed, gasping, looks like the wind got knocked out of him, and it hurts him so bad. Prometheus says, that hurts, doesn't it, Wukong? I know it does. That pain you feel is the pain that I know best. According to the legends, Prometheus was the one to give mankind fire, and as a punishment, he was tortured, being bound in chains and crucified at the summit of the Caucasus Mountains for 30,000 years. However, that tale is false. The torturing of a god could never be carried out in such a half-hearted manner. This is the other side of the gods, never recorded in their histories. So this is the truth. This is the true torture mechanism that was inflicted upon him. We see a flashback start. Prometheus's flashbacks. We're actually getting a full-fledged, a semi-full-fledged flashback this round. And we see this goddess. Her name is Bia, or Bia. She is sitting in this cage alongside Wukong, and it looks like a steel cage match, where Wukong's on one side, she's on the other side of the ring. At one time, the Titans ruled over the realm of the Greek gods. However, their leader Kronos was defeated by Zeus, and thus the Titans were stripped of their freedom and imprisoned deep within the Caucasus Mountains. Within that wretched prison, their only source of entertainment was this. And Bia starts smashing Prometheus with attacks. She jumps off 2 feet, slams him in the face, kicks him into the cage. When he hits the cage, he gets shocked violently. The narrator says, their entertainment came from the torturing of Prometheus, a traitor who allied himself with Zeus rather than Kronos. So the Titans that were in prison here hate Prometheus for being a traitor, and Prometheus is being tortured because he gave humanity fire by Zeus. So the man that he aligned himself with ended up turning on him in the end because of what he did for humanity, and he is the reason he is tortured. It's confirmed that Zeus is ordering all of this. Crazy development. A ruthless spectacle indeed, made out to be his divine punishment. The Titans are screaming, they're hype about Bia beating his ass, saying, "Atta girl, make that traitor hurt even more, beat him till there's nothing left, kill him." Some of the other Titans say, "How pathetic, serves that fool right, yeah, you love to see it." With how he's chained up like that, I doubt he can even put up a proper fight. So, in fairness to Prometheus, it's not as if he's actively fighting her. He is chained up in this cage. So he's restricted, his movements are restricted. And as we know, this chain is a mechanism that amplifies pain so bad. So Bia picks up Prometheus by his hair and says, "Uh-oh, can't have you going night-night on me just yet." And a mysterious character is shown watching from a chair that looks like a throne, and it's revealed this is actually Kratos, god of power and an agent of Zeus. Bia is the goddess of violence and also an agent of Zeus, so they both work for Zeus. Kratos looks like the Norse saga Kratos from the games, and he looks pretty cool. He says, "Indeed, Bia, we can't let him off that easy for giving fire to mankind. Besides, we've got to make sure these Titans get enough amusement out of this, because we Olympians might have taken away their right to rule, but they're not to be looked down upon. Work them too hard and give them too harsh conditions and they might start a rebellion, and we don't want that." I like that detail a lot, actually. That's why we gotta give them this first-class entertainment in the form of violence against the one who betrayed them. Meanwhile, Bia is just whooping Prometheus. She's got him in like a half Nelson. She's putting him in headlocks, slamming him all around the place. She's laughing. She's like, "Come on, why don't you try fighting back a little?" As Prometheus hasn't tried fighting back at all this entire fight. And she's taunting him, saying, "If you even can, that is." Prometheus just endures all this. The narrator says Prometheus did nothing but take it. Prometheus believed that that pain was the least he could bear for having led his former kin as well as mankind down the wrong path. And thus for centuries, for millennia, he simply took it. Dude, he took it for years and years and years and years. This is actually nuts. Until that day came. And that day, Heracles, also known as Alcides, showed up to the prison. One of the random guards walks over to Kratos and says, "Lord Kratos, we have an emergency." Kratos is like, "What are you talking about? This is all right before the fun's just about to begin." Obviously, Prometheus being tortured. We're just getting to the good part. And then one of the other guards just gets slammed right in front of Kratos. And the one that was reporting the information is like, "Now isn't the time for this. Please listen." The door gets slammed open and Kratos is like, who goes there? And it is Heracles. He kicked open the door. He said, "My name is Alcides," the name that he had in his flashback in the Ragnarok main series before he became a god. "I am what you might call a god in training." So this was in the process of him becoming a god while he was doing his 12 labors. Kratos is like, "A god in training? What the hell does that mean?" Records show that the hero Alcides, later known as Hercules, stopped in the Caucasus Mountains in the midst of his 12 labors. That's the narrator talking. And Kratos says, "And even then, what does an apprentice like you want in a place like this? What's your business here?" Hercules says, "I am an inexperienced god, and I'm ill-informed on what happens in the heavens. But there is something that even I understand. This establishment is not just at all." So we get a montage showing that the Titans were actually treated pretty poorly. Despite what Kratos said earlier, he was towing the line of just not pushing them far enough and giving them this entertainment, but they were treated very badly. Kratos says, "I see how it is. I've heard rumors that some foolhardy human had taken a drink of the ambrosia and gained power equal to that of the gods, and now he's making his presence felt in the heavens." When Prometheus hears this, a light bulb goes off in his head. He's like, "A human who became a god?" Meanwhile, Bia is standing on top of his neck. She's laughing loudly, saying, "You ignorant little fledgling, I'll let you in on something. This place is a fair and legal establishment, operating under the direct orders of Lord Zeus. Make a scene here and you'll be the one who's punished." Heracles then says, "Nonsense. You gods should be acting justly most of all, and yet here you are yielding to the strong and putting down the weak. Before I set mankind on the right path, it seems I need to show you the meaning of justice." He's preparing to fight them 2v1. He says, first I'll release these titans, and then to make it all legal, I'll seek Lord Zeus's counsel on improving their treatment. Bia says, you little runt, you think we'll just stand by and let that happen? She starts charging toward Hercules. But as she's running, she's stopped dead in her tracks as Prometheus latched his chain around her wrist and stops her right away. She says, what the hell? Alcides was it, says Prometheus. Leave them to me. You focus on your own mission, whatever he was there for, one of his labors. Kratos screams out, Prometheus, you! How the devil did you get those chains off you? You mean these, says Prometheus? These are a specifically made divine weapon of which I besought Zeus for my own punishment. Acantha, that's the name of the chains. Therefore, I could have taken them off whenever I wanted to, of my own will. Up until now, I thought that I'd spend the rest of my life continuing to be punished for my crimes. That man has piqued my interest, but now I wish to see for myself what he will do next. He has a smile on his face for probably the first time in thousands of years. He wraps the chains around his fist. Bia now is pissed off, runs at him and says, it's just one after the other, huh? There's no way we'll let you do what you want. And she throws a punch at Prometheus that Prometheus catches immediately and crushes her hands. You see that same lightning effect you saw with the Wukong headbutt. She screams out in pain, wails in pain. She's like, what the hell? What is all this pain? Blood vessels are popping. It's like, I told you, these were specifically made so that anyone caught in these chains feels every pain imaginable hundreds fold. She's like, impossible. That can't be. There's no way you could have withstood this all that time I was beating you up. Not a single damn chance. Meanwhile, Prometheus is unfazed. He smashes her head with a headbutt. Smashes it. She looks like she got killed immediately. She got one shot essentially. She gets turned into the crystals just like everybody else in Ragnarok that dies. The narrator says any ordinary god would completely mentally crumble under such pain. And yet Prometheus has been able to bear it for 30,000 years, not because of the overwhelming endurance possessed by all titans, but because of Prometheus' own overwhelming mental fortitude. Insane. We don't find out what happened to Kratos, but he probably got his ass beat too. But Prometheus obviously got out of the prison. Went on to have a long-standing friendship with Hercules. We touched on that last chapter, so make sure you go check that out if you want to see it, if you haven't caught up on it. But he looks determined as all hell. Now, Wukong in this moment is starting to get back to his feet, and Prometheus's face, like we see, he's bleeding partially. Of course, it's a kamikaze-style technique with the headbutt. He took damage as well, but he's unfazed by it, and Wukong is struggling back up to his feet. He's like, damn, I just got hit bad, bro. Like, he is stumbling back to his feet. And Prometheus says, I haven't atoned for my sins yet, not by any means, but for now, I'll make you feel the pain I've felt until you surrender for thousands upon thousands of years, if need be. Wukong is bleeding and Prometheus is smiling. This chapter picks up right where we left off last chapter, with Wukong, of course, getting bodied last chapter, but he was getting back up to his feet. At the beginning of this chapter, we see Wukong is now on his feet, still wrapped up in the chains, and Prometheus is still on the attack. He runs at him with a monster clothesline. As Prometheus thinks to himself, with this, it's night night. Wukong gets sent flying. He slams into some rocks as the crowd is appalled, and Yara looks like she's actually stunned. Even against the great sage Heaven's Equal, Prometheus is completely dominating the match, he says. As Prometheus walks over toward Wukong, he is a little bit perplexed. He thinks to himself, overwhelmed? Dominating? That's not it. For him to withstand my unendurable attacks to this extent and not be sent to Niflheim? And now he says aloud, as expected, so it's not just for show, is it, Monkey King? The great sage, Heaven's Equal, son Wukong. Wukong now stands back to his feet. Take note of the fact that Prometheus actually pulled the chains off of him as far as around his body, and now it's just solely attached to his ankle. Again, we get this awesome panel of Wukong. His narration says, outer god unbreakable. That's his epithet. We see a little flashback here as it says, in Journey to the West, one of the 4 great Chinese classics, the great sage Heaven's Equal erased his own name from the mythical ledger possessed by Anmodial, otherwise known as the Book of Death. The Sen Peach, which is said to grant the consumer endless life force and vitality, the ultimate golden elixir of life created by Taisheng Laojin, he consumed it all. A single stone monkey was born from a huge rock in the flower fruit mountain Aluwai. He acquired a truly indestructible body. So a lot of people were like, oh, Wukong got these 7 immortalities. So I like that they mentioned Journey to the West. They talk about him drinking from the elixir of life. and now they put their own spin on it the same way they just did with Prometheus. Like in the legends, they referenced the fact that Prometheus was tortured, hung up, but then they changed it in the Record of Ragnarok verse. So this is how they're going to be changing it. His body is simply indestructible, and we'll get more on this going forward. Wukong looks like a straight up demon in these panels, and hopefully that's not his full-fledged backstory. That kind of reminds me of what Ra got last fight, with like a real quick like little flashback on his legend. But Wukong now has a smile on his face, very sinister, as he starts laughing. We see his two friends in the crowd again, where they say, "Big bro, are you okay?" And Wukong, in a great panel, grabs onto his head and says, "It's been a while. I really felt that one. How many thousands of years has it been since I felt something like this? Thanks to you, just a little. I remembered the old days." And then the next panel, we see the infamous power pole, otherwise known as Ruyi Bang. Seemingly out of thin air, it has now appeared within his hand. He says, "That's why I'll give you my thanks." Everybody in the crowd is stunned at this point. They can't believe what they're seeing. How the hell did this power pole just emerge in his hand? They're saying, when did he, where did he, what is going on? Where did he pull that from? The narrator says, "From the ear of the great sage, heaven's equal, he took out that." So it was behind his ear or within his ear. The moment where that transformed, Prometheus witnessed it. But the surprising part was not that. Yara now screams out, "It's here." That is truly the renowned Ruyi Bang. Official name Ruyi Jingo Bang, the iconic sacred treasure of the great sage. Ares is now giving us his normal reactions, where he's stunned. He's saying, "Did you notice it, Hermes?" And Hermes of course says yes. A masterpiece made by Taixing Laojin, made of rare divine iron and weighing 13,500 caddies, approximately 8 tons. The Ruyi Jingo Bang is said to be freely expandable, but that unusual atmosphere. So this man had 8 tons weighing on him behind his ear or within his ear. My interpretation is it's like it's behind his ear like a pencil, but that is crazy. You see this aura starting to envelop Wukong at this point as he stares down Prometheus. We got this darkened panels of his face. All this is building up now. Hercules screams out, knowing this is dangerous, says, "Watch out, Prometheus," as Hermes looks worried. He says, "You can't measure it by basic specs. There's no doubt that there's something in there." Wukong now enters his fighting stance, says 5%. Then he corrects himself, says no, 15% sounds about right. As Prometheus looks on, I kid you not, Wukong says, "Stand proud, for opponents worthy of 15% are rare." This motherfucker gave him the Jogo treatment, bro. The Jogo treatment is crazy. This man, people saying he's Gojo are like, damn, bro. He's out here quoting Sukuna now. Prometheus immediately flies back. He jumps back, worried immediately. He knows an attack is coming. He is terrified of it. He backs up, but it's too damn late. Prometheus, sensing the great sage heavens equals strange aura, immediately decided to take distance, but against the Ruyi Bang, the very concept of distance does not exist. As you see, Wukong thrust out the power pole. It slams straight into Prometheus' heart as he says, "Shifang Weili." An amazing panel of Prometheus enveloped by what looks like mountains emerges. This panel is incredible. We then see his face go straight to confusion as he looks up and this giant demonic beast is standing in front of him. This looks just like the giant gods you fight in Black Myth Wukong. I think that they might be the 4 heavenly kings, but I'm not 100% sure if that's who's here, but there's a ton more of them as well coming. This demon slams his weapon at Prometheus. Prometheus goes flying. It looks like he gets sent into orbit. He's now bleeding all over from his face. You then see a montage of all these different beings surrounding Prometheus, and they start slamming him with attacks. You get this epic collage of all these beings beating the shit out of Prometheus, slamming him. It reminds me of like a super move from fucking Injustice, and even some of these attacks look like Netero's ultimate ability. This is crazy as we cut back to the battlefield now, and Prometheus is just slammed and cemented into the side of the arena, bro. It looks like he's been stuck within a mountain like Doflamingo after getting hit by Gear 4. Wukong stands there chilling, says, "How did that taste?" Now I've returned the favor, and you just look at this massacre of Prometheus. Shiva looks like he's impressed. Hermes and Hercules are sweating. They are extremely worried, and Yara is like, "What in the world just happened?" Ares is saying, "I don't understand what exactly happened. I saw the whole thing. I saw it, but it was just a simple thrust without any special aspects, yet Prometheus was suddenly blown back with tremendous force." Hermes explains, "Certainly in terms of appearance, it appeared to be merely a thrust, But it wasn't speed, it wasn't power, there was something entirely different, a terrifying power within that thrust. We now cut to all those same gods that they showed us before that Wukong had defeated. Neza and Madaio, Kinkaku, Ginkaku, all these other people. And Neza says, Wukong, you finally showed it. The Bull Demon King says it seems that bread is called the indestructible god or some nonsense. As Kinkaku and Ginkaku say, if he was merely a tough monkey, we wouldn't struggle like this. And Madaio finishes it up saying, that shitty country mountain monkey who only had a slightly tough body, what he faced on that journey were all high-ranking divine beings and great yokai. On that harsh journey, what that brat came up with was that. Great panel of Madaio, by the way. Can't wait to see how he fights. As Wukong says, within this indestructible body of mine, throughout all the fights I've been in, exists the force of all the attacks I've endured throughout my entire life. In other words, the energy of destruction itself is all sealed within me in an epic panel. He says all of that which is contained within my body, releasing just a few percentages through the Ruyi Bang outside, results in this. So he gave him only 15% of the damage, which is actually a pretty considerable amount, but 15% of the damage he's taken within his life, all slammed into Prometheus, and we see that the chains break. Not only do they break off of Prometheus's wrist, but they break off of Wukong's ankle, and at that moment Wukong says, oh, seems like it's over. As I thought, 15% might have been a little too much. That is the cliffhanger for the chapter. Hercules is pissed off, Ares is worried, Zeus is impressed. This is crazy talk, but now we know that that's only a small fraction of the power Wukong can use, and that was only a simple thrust. So imagine what 100% looks like. We start where we left off last chapter. Of course, we saw Prometheus slammed by the 15% attack by Wukong, slammed into the crater. We get a little bit of a flashback here for Wukong, as they say, journey to the west, a tale chronicling his travels across human civilization. It's become a tale of entertainment and whimsy. We get a shot of young Wukong. His design is hilarious. And he just faces off with some more of the gods that we kind of saw in his attack. But he's actually flanked by something of a crew behind him. I'm sure some of you guys know who these figures are. The guy on the horse looks really cool to me. They fought against these gods, and the true story of his travels was full of brutality beyond imagination. In order to battle gods, in order to topple gods, what he came up with was surely a divine feat. After innumerable victories and after innumerable losses, what he finally achieved was this. The technique obviously we saw, becoming unbreakable, stacking all the pain that he takes and dishing it back out to his enemies. We see Madaio say exactly, with what he did, that boorish bumpkin of a monkey earned the name, the great sage, heaven's equal. He who stands shoulder to shoulder with the gods as he stands atop one of the fallen gods. We see Zeus now reacting as he says, I suppose in the first place, those with the qualification to become a god aren't decided only by strength. That much is obvious. A god's role isn't limited to fighting after all. So for him, the title of Great Sage Heaven's Equal is a bit much. If we're talking about qualifications, that man is still a low-ranked god at best. Really, he's no different than any other young punk. However, if we're talking only strength, that man is triple S class amongst all the gods in Valhalla. Insane statement from Zeus. I might go as far as to say that might be one of the best statements in the series, coming from Zeus, who effectively is in that triple S class. But I wonder where he would classify himself. Would he say he's quadruple S class, or is he saying that Wukong's on his level? I don't know. We see Prometheus still stuck in the crater, and we get confirmation that he was actually knocked out from this attack. He comes to and he thinks to himself, what happened? Oh, that's right, the fight. And at that moment, you see, of course, the chain breaking. So the chains are breaking in real time now again. Prometheus looks down. He tries getting back to his feet, but he spits out a ton of blood. The damage he's taken is immense. He gets back to a knee, and Ares is screaming, he got back up, I can't believe it. Hercules is fuming on the sidelines, as it's stated that with his eons of experience in battle, despite what he wished to be true for Hercules, he already knew beyond a doubt how grave Prometheus' condition was. Despite his tenacity and willpower, his body was already demolished, to the point where even the slightest movements were completely and utterly impossible, as you see Prometheus collapse back to the ground off of the knee. Really kinda sad. Hermes then says, this man withstood 30,000 years of torture like it was nothing. Lord Prometheus with his tenacity, I can't believe this. Ares says, in just one blow, truly, Amongst the outer gods, he is unbreakable. We then see Ahura Mazda, one of the fighters on the roster. They say he's an ancient Persian god. I've seen ancient Iranian god as well, but he's a two-faced god, and he says, with a name like Unbreakable, I figured he was going to be a fighter whose selling point was defense. It seemed like that monkey was a big fat nothing, but contrary to that name, he also possessed a terribly pure, unadulterated, offensive weapon. He truly is a perfect warrior. The great sage Heaven's equal, as the rumors say. No, I recognize him as even stronger than what the rumors say. Prometheus is still not giving up though. As he collapsed, he's now crawling toward Wukong. Wukong looks at him and says, don't do it. I don't want to have to kill you. One of the most savage lines you're gonna have. Like, I don't want to have to kill you. Stay down, bro. Prometheus gets up to his elbow. He's gritting his teeth. He puts his arm down and he's fighting with everything he has just to stand back up. The crowd is appalled. You have ladies in the crowd covering their mouth. They're saying how unsightly. The fight has already been decided. Hercules is so immensely angry. He's cracking his knuckles. He's squeezing his hand to the point of bleeding as he watches on as Prometheus again fights, digs his arm into the ground, gets back to the knee once more. His eyes are even white. That's how much pain he's going through. Wukong says, why? Why go through all this? Why go that far? We get a great shot of Prometheus still on a knee, blood trickling all over his body. As we get a little flashback for Prometheus here, this might be within his own mind, as we see Zeus, young Ares, young Hermes say, hey Prometheus, we're leaving you in charge of humanity for a little bit, and he looks like he's completely unsuspecting. The reason is that Zeus and the other gods were busy after defeating Kronos with things in the god realm. So they didn't have time for humanity, I guess. So that's the reason why Prometheus had a connection to humanity to begin with. Zeus goes on to say, besides, you've got the time to do it, don't you? Do this for us. So he did it as a favor to Zeus initially, and it led to all of this. It is said that the gods created humanity in their own image. However, in actuality, their lives could not be more different from God's. We see this image of this giant wild boar chasing after humans. They're terrified, running in fear, and Prometheus intercepts the boar, slams it into a tree, seemingly kills it, and they eat it. The humans run away from Prometheus though before that, and he's confused. He picks up the boar on his shoulder. He acknowledges them as being cowardly and fragile. He says there's nothing to fear, and then they end up all getting along. He helps them recover from their wounds. He helps them build shit, and he eats and breaks bread with them. He had a great time. He was truly happy, and he recognized them as not just fragile and cowardly, but also pure. We get this great panel of Prometheus smiling, taking it all in. That's all flashing through his mind right now as he's on that knee. Now, aloud, he says the words, because I love humanity, in an awesome panel with one of his eyes completely white, one eye open, blood all over his face, still on a knee in front of Wukong defiantly. He's of course answering the question, why is he doing all this? Everyone in the crowd is silent. Wukong now grits his teeth and says, don't make me throw up. Some people won't like this, but Wukong says, you should know better than anyone. No matter how much we reach out to them or love them, humanity cannot be saved. So a lot of people thought that like Wukong would fight for humanity. He doesn't seem to care about humanity. So I can see some people complaining about this in the comments. We'll see though. All of us and our travels, in the end, after all that, it didn't change anything. While he says this, we get this panel and there's like a montage of like humans committing atrocities and all these other things. We see Wukong's friends say big bro as Wukong thinks to himself, save humanity, then screams out aloud, and then what, huh? Save them for what? Prometheus answers back, and then nothing. What reason do you need to save your friends? Reminiscent of Adam. What father needs a reason to save his children, to protect his children? Prometheus, a little bit less aura, says, what reason do I need to protect my friends? Cool moment, and Prometheus actually does make his way back up to his feet in an epic panel for me. He looks awesome standing back up, standing tall. Ares, Yar, they're both shocked that he was able to get back up. And Prometheus now says, well now, what do you say, great sage? As you can see, I can still fight. Epic moment. But in that moment, you see the crowd like is very worried. Yar is sweating, the crowd's sweating, and Wukong stayed silent for a minute. He then says, hey referee. She says, huh? You mean me? And he's like, yeah, hurry up and call it already. Yara says, huh? Oh, Prometheus lost consciousness while standing up. The match is decided. First round, second match, the winner is the great sage, heaven's equal, Sun Wukong. First round, second match, Prometheus versus Sun Wukong. Fight time, 20 minutes, 25 seconds. Final blow, Shi Fang Wei Li. Winner, Sun Wukong. Prometheus finally falls. He falls to his back, but before he can reach the ground, Hercules has jumped into the arena and caught him. We actually see that Hercules respects Wukong as he says, "Until the end, you refuse to finish him off. For that, I thank you. Great sage, heaven's equal." We get some narration that says the back of the victor somehow feels sorrowful.